Fuck, man. I forgot how fucked up this fucking family was. Gosh, damn. Oh, boy, that was a tear. Okay, besides that, yeah, fuck. Well, this is what I wanted to do after, I got a gift. So, this is, what if Deku was part of the Carmine family? And no, Gears of War is like I'm explaining the lore behind like everything before I get into it. There, those who haven't played Gears of War, the Carmine family is seen as one of the most unlucky family lines ever in gaming because most of the members of the fucking Carmine family have died in battle, such as Anthony Carmine, Benjamin Carmine, and Lizzie Carmine. We don't know about the rest of them, but yeah. But yeah. Anth- Anthony and Benjamin uh are the younger brothers of Clayton, and Clayton is seen as like the basically the only he's the only survivor of the lineage that everyone knows of in lore because they don't really talk about every other Carmine. So yeah, now how do I begin? Now more lore. This is basically like because of the whole locust thing and the Karen family being like they're trained soldiers. They decided to as soon as the locust war was over, they decided to go into like a cryo freeze mode because because yeah, that's what they decided because like they're bred to be like soldiers damn near. So um that's what they go into. They go into like a crowd freeze chamber, and like instead of them being let out to like be in another war with the locusts if they come back, the locusts never came back. The locusts are completely wiped out this time. Thus, thus we got the whole thing with every with the remaining Carmines surviving. And yes, there are more Carmines that there probably aren't stated because it went all the way down to W. But yeah, honestly, before I watched the video to get like the full order of like is Clay the father of Anthony and Benjamin, he's actually the older brother, which actually surprised me for a bit. But I was like, it makes sense. But yeah, um, but Deku isn't born yet. I'm just saying that now. This is the beginning age, when people were getting quirks. So like people remember like the cog and shit, but the cog isn't like like how the cog used to be. The cog is mainly like focused on helping people and being what the cog were trying to do, but they kept getting shit on because you can't really stop fucking fucking lizard people that just can't die. Legit, they just couldn't die. As soon as they died, it was like, oh, they just come back as the fucking swarm. It's like, it ain't fucking fair. But yeah, that's the basically the beginning of it. Um, let's fast forward. Let's fast forward years actually. All right, for those who wonder who's alive, Clay is alive. Lizzie, I'm doing it off of the end of fucking. Uh, I'm doing it off the end of fucking 3. So Lizzie would be alive, Clay would be alive, and that's it. No, there was more alive, but as I said, they're not really stated. So yeah, they're both alive, and instead of like the cog taking the whole thing with I forget her name, but it would be more like it would take the turn of like moving into things and doing shit, and it would shortly become they get off the planet that they're on because yes, they're not on Earth, they're on a different planet, and they move somewhere else. Actually, the Carmine stayed on that planet, and then like people later on went back to the planet, found out like the planet was like it was pretty much done, and like they found the Carmine family. I mean, the remaining Carmines in cryo chambers where they're frozen in time, basically just in case of another war. And people set them free, basically giving them news like, "Yo, the locusts are gone," and yada yada. And they're like, "Ah, okay, shit." So that's what the time is to current. Um, yeah, the time to current is basically that because nothing much really happened. They head back to like they they wouldn't they would stay. Yeah, actually, they would go to Japan. Fuck it, because Clay would do the fucking. Because Clay was smart along with being strong, so he'd see like, okay, so Japan has the highest, has like, is easy to live in. Plus, you have a high living expectancy there, so they'd move there instead of going to like the U.S. and shit. I don't know why I'm fucking yawning. So Clay and Lizzie would move there, and they continue, and that's where the story continues. Because this would be around the time where let's say in the like I don't know what to say because it could be any time period, but it's hard to decide it. Let's just say they get there around hmm, the fucking let's say the first part of the like the fucking let's say when All for One first comes out, like their superpowers are scarce, so like they the heroes are just forming. So with the heroes just forming, yeah, Clay would sign up, and of course Lizzie would sign up. And no, I'm not doing the whole Sweet Home Alabama relationship with Clay and Lizzie. That's fucking disgusting. No, aren't Clay and Lizzie fucking? Are they siblings or are they fucking family? Hmm. I don't know, but all I know is that that's not happening. These two would enlist to help, and with them helping out, the whole situation changes to where it's like All for One is on the run a lot faster because Clay doesn't take bullshit and knows how to do things, and Lizzie knows how to. And Lizzie is good as well. Hmm. What else would happen? I mean, the whole Lizzie thing wouldn't happen. Uh, actually, yeah, Lizzie would help. Fuck it, Lizzie would help, and thus, like, that's how the story begins. Time passes. Lizzie has kids. Clay has his own kids. Then the next generation. The next generation. Wait, how was it? I think it was about like, if I don't remember. Uh, give me a second. I'm about to pause real quick. I guess 8 generations? Question mark. It's hard because I just went through like the lore. I had to use the fucking one for all basis of everything, and it was like you got this generation, then the next, and the next, and the next, and the next, and I'm like, yo, chill the fuck out and just give me the whole fucking shit. but besides that, yeah, I guess it's like kids, yada 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 yada. Yeah. And no, I haven't lost effort in this one. It's just after like you spent time looking it up, and then you have to use a quirk as your basis, then go off of that. It's kind of like it's kind of foobar information because you, yeah, as I said, foobar information. My microphone came out of my fucking laptop, so I had to change it. I mean, I didn't say I had to change it. I basically have to continue off of this one. I know last one was like 10 minutes, 42. I mean, it said 42, 24 seconds. So, the family line continued in doing the same thing. They are a mainly homeschooled family until it comes around like the time of you being a hero. Then you go to high school, then all that. So I'd say generations would pass, and finally we get Deku. And yes, Deku is related to both Clay and Lizzie. So, and by the way, Clay and Lizzie have passed by now. It would have been cool if he'd been trained by them, but that would have been like, it would have been like hard for Deku. It's still gonna be hard for Deku because he has like he doesn't have a normal life growing up. As I said, in the Carmine family, you're mainly kept, because they're mainly a family of heroes now. They're really seclusive. I mean, very secluded when it comes to like their whole line. So what I'm saying is like they don't let you know they have kids until you see the kid. It's not really known to public until later on, where it's like, hey, the Carmen family had another kid. And where they live is also unknown to most people because they have to. Because the whole thing they do is they go into town, get their mail, then leave out, making sure they're not followed, taking a lot of precautions, and yeah. So that's the Carmine family basically right now. And Deku is the only born of two random people in the Carmine family. And yes, all the Carmine family are mostly heroes. I mean, yeah, mostly heroes, except for like some of them who just like feel like they don't want to be heroes, which is actually no, all of them want to be heroes. So the whole Carmine family is heroes. But none of them had the training that fucking Deku's about to have. And yes, Deku got the name Deku, and not because like, hey, they call him useless. It was because it's the same thing with Benjamin Carmine. Like he's small. Like he's kind of like the smallest in the family. So his older cousins and stuff called him Deku because not because he's useless. They called him it because like it's basically a knock at his height. And like he's kind of small, so they called him Deku. And he I mean, he accepted the name. So besides that, he accepted the name, and that's what his whole family calls him. Besides calling him Squirt, because it's kind of a knock at one year, like generations a, generations away, fucking generations away. How I say this? Generations away. Great grand uncle, something like that. Like everyone trying to know what I'm. Hopefully, everyone knows what I'm trying to get at. But yeah, he now the household goes as followed because I said they train history. I mean, have like fucking shit like that. But I'm gonna say because I want to. Endeavor had a member of his family marry into the household, and that's Deku's mother, and his father has his father is I'm gonna say I don't know, cause I don't know what to make Deku's father. I'm gonna say Deku's father has like a water-based quirk, just to say fuck it. So no, actually, I'm gonna just keep it two fire-based quirks, cause the will of fire in the fucking in the Carmine family keeps burning. So yes, that's a fucking joke. I know. Aha, you're so fucking funny. But yeah, it's based. Yeah, that's how it is. The two fire quirks, basically making Deku impervious to his own flames, and no, and yes, he doesn't run out of stamina with his own flames. So yeah, that's how that one goes. So besides that, nothing. I mean, Deku would basically do his run of the mill shit until I'm gonna say the age of about third. No, the age of 10 actually, because I like where this is going. Now at the age of 10, he's doing those normal things, and he decides to he's like searching around. Then he decides to take a look around the house. Gets a little adventurous, and he stumbled upon this secret passage, and not he didn't stumble on it. He was like pulling out books, and then he pulled a book, and this passage opened. And yes, I'm gotta say this now. All the members of the Carmine family wear helmets and the armor and shit, just to, like remember where they came from. All of them have their own variations. So yeah. Mm. Besides that, nothing much. Uh, so Deku basically walks into the fucking Actually, yeah, Deku basically walks into like the tunnel type thing, the tunnel like thing, and continues to walk down. And as he gets in, he sees like the mural of the past members of the COG, which was Anthony, Benjamin, Clay, Lizzie, basically all the members that passed away, and their helmets left there the way they are. They weren't changed, they weren't mended. He sees that, like, yes, the wars were true because Anthony was Anthony had a headshot going through his helmet, and that bullet bullet wound and blood still there. Benjamin had some of the poison still on the helmet. Yeah, I don't know how they recovered the helmet. Don't ask me. It just happened. Um, didn't that? Yeah, the worm died actually, so they could have went in, got the helmet, and walked out. Clay's helmet was left there with everything on it, besides like the slight repairs to make it sure like he wouldn't die, but he left the repair marks there. So Lizzie stuff was still there. Hmm. Besides, yeah, that's all. And other members that were heroes and stuff were there. Besides, and I say he's taking a look, and I say he takes off his helmet, and I mean you're allowed to in the house, but it's only around. You're basically allowed to, but they want you to keep the helmet on at all times for even like it's they want you to keep it on even before you go to sleep. But Deku decides to take it off because he feels like the members of the Carmine family are telling him to take off his helmet. And I'm gonna say the reason why, like they're telling him to take off his helmet because you're facing the generation of the Carmine family that were in war, and no, they aren't ghosts, they aren't haunting it. You know that little like fucking they call to you from the grave to do stuff. That's basically what they're doing. They're basically saying like take off your helmet. And when he takes off the helmet, he like he feels like the pressure of all of the helmets, basically like, and he sees silhouettes of all the members of the Carmine family, like standing up and looking at him. And basically, Like he gets a feeling that they're not judging; they're basically just looking, and he can't hear them. But if he can hear them, Clay is basically like, Benjamin. He reminds me of you. Benjamin's like, oh come on, and then Anthony's like, yeah, yeah, I can see it. And then Lizzie's like, hey, stop making fun of Ben. And they're like, nah. And yeah, basically Deku couldn't hear it, but they're like, but until Clay speaks up and he's like, okay, so you must be the youngest of, no, you must be the person who finally found this place. This is the tunnel or Kyrept, as you could say, of the fallen Carmines. Not many of the Carmine family know about this. We kept it like this for a reason. So whoever finds it, they can tell that the wars were true. Many did believe that the wars were an actual thing until now. Well, until you. And you are not to tell people that the wars were true, because then people like strike in fear. So instead of doing that, take our we I installed chips in the back of we all have chips in the back of our helmets. Take those and leave this Kyrept to for the next person to find, and come back when the chips are all gone. When you use all the chips, and he does take the chips from the helmet because they're like, look, think of the Halo chips. They're kind of small, but you can like put them in because all the Carmine helmets are specifically designed to take these chips, but no one has figured out why besides Deku now. So Deku basically takes the chips and he goes back upstairs to his room, and he puts them in one by one, so their labels A, B, C, and so far, and in that order. So when he does, his helmet basically flat his and puts the helmet on. His goggles turn blue, and he can see like the group photo of Anthony, Benjamin, Clay, and David. I think was his name. David. Yeah, maybe David. I don't know, but he sees the photo. I mean, he sees the group photo of them, and he's brought the tears because not many of them, because it recorded every moment in their helmets, and he watched basically over days, over a year's time. He watched all they did in the helmets and their service, with Clay doing the most. Lizzie helped in the wars, but she was mainly around at the end of it. And he's seen the end of Benjamin. I mean, he's seen the end of Benjamin. He's seen the end of Anthony, and he didn't see the end of Clay. He's seen what Clay did though, and what Clay went through. He didn't he didn't couldn't feel it, but he kind of knew how it felt to deal with all that. So with that being said, like after watching all those, he sees another recording that Clay left before he died, and Clay said, "If you watched all of them, congrats, you know the history of the Carmines to its full extent. And for this, you shall be trained in the way of the old Carmines." And that's what Deku spends his next, because he'd be 11 at the time. He spent his next 2 years doing the Carmine training. I mean, the old Carmine training, which is a lot. I mean, gosh, damn. Like, if you think about it, the old Carmines, like, Clay's was the hardest. Anthony's was more like endurance and shit, and being able to do, like, many things and checking for things. Benjamin was accuracy. Like, he was accurate as fuck. Like, and people didn't know this, but Benjamin could fucking shoot. Like he Benjamin damn near couldn't miss a shot. Even though Benjamin was like the smallest in structure, he made it with accuracy. So Benjamin was accurate as fuck. So endurance. Anthony helped Deku basically use that fire and be able to like hold it for a long periods of time. Benjamin basically, I'll explain that. Benjamin taught Deku how to aim the fire and use it precisely, and even big and small, to not endanger the area around him. Clay, oh boy, Clay was just fucking brutal. He made sure he was fucking Deku was durable. He basically like told him like to fall from places, to do things in weird angles. Basically just be just all around, get the shit stomped out of you and get used to it. And be at even at your worst be strong. And basically that's basically what he was telling. That's what he taught Deku. Lizzie taught him the mechanic side of things, and she was a like damn good mechanic. Like she could fix something her ass off. So that's what all the Carmines did, and I'm gonna say, like he's now 14 after completing all the trainings. He puts the chips where they are, and basically now basically uh, he basically it's time for him to head into you know the hero I mean to high school. So when I'm gonna say he was asked like what does he want to do, did he want to take the entrance exam or does he want to just go in by recommendation, because Nezu knows the family, he just doesn't know like what they're doing. Besides that, Deku says because he was taught by Clay, he says, "I'm gonna take the entrance exam," and they're like, "Okay." And mind you, Deku's already made his own like stuff. He's made his armor. He's made his helmet. He's made all of that, and he's also made his fucking. He made himself a motorcycle too. So the time comes and he basically like gets on his bike with his like he has an army bag too. He has like the little cog army bag, the cog army bag, and he just drives. He just rides his motorcycle there. And yes, you can drive a moped or a motorcycle at at a younger age, before, but you can't drive a car. So he basically drives that to school. I mean to UA. And when he gets there, he parks in. He's in civilian clothes, but he still has the helmet on. So everyone's looking at him like, oh, that must be one of the Carmine family members. Oh, and if you don't know, um, he his armor and shit is like full, but he can like change it because he's smart and he's like, okay, so I should change it for different types of weather and all types of stuff. So his armor is adaptable. Sorry. So he walks us. So he walks in, and he doesn't meet. I mean, he basically walks up the same stairs as everyone. He just parked in the parking lot, walked around, then started walking up the stairs, still going into the back entrance. So with that being said, he keeps. So, fuck. Sorry. So I need to stop saying that. So he basically walks in. He walks in, and he's same shit happens as Canada. Besides Ida yelling at him because Deku's completely silent, listening to everything. So Deku takes the regular test, gets a 100 on that. Honestly, we get 120 because he even corrected them on grammar mistakes. He was like, "Yeah, that's wrong. That's wrong. That's wrong. You should have used this and that." He even wrote it on the test, like, "Yeah, that's off. That's off." And yeah, but when it comes to the fucking entrance exam, because he knows like that robots aren't dangerous, but he still like has to put on the armor. He puts on the chest plate and he puts on like the leg part. Besides that, he puts on nothing else. No, with the now the chest plate. Besides that, he puts on the chest plate and he puts on the fucking pants and shit. So everyone sees him do that, and they're like, "Oh shit, he actually is a Carmine." And he was like, and he put on the gloves, so he's just checking everything. He's like, "Okay, so this is good." The exam begins. So Deku instantly like because he's not a he's not a pyromancer, but he basically shoots off with fire on his feet, and he gets to destroying robots easily, taking them apart, melting them, doing all sorts of shit. And he does a lot of shit, and he gets a high amount of points. And he gets a high amount of hero points too because he saved people, basically doing what the Carmines did. They helped and beat the shit out of people. And when it came to the the robot part, Deku basically got Uraraka from under the fucking rubble and didn't destroy the zero pointer because he stayed no point in doing so. I mean, no, he wouldn't destroy the zero pointer because he realized that there's no point in wasting that much energy on something that I already saved the person for. But besides that, nothing much. Uh, the zero pointer didn't get destroyed, so. But Deku gets in the UA, even if he wouldn't have done that good, because when you have a Carmine family member, you tend to accept it. So I'm gonna go into 3 arcs actually. Fuck it, because I want to. So after that, he goes home and greets everyone, and they basically say how'd it go. He says it went kind of well. Uh, he he knows he says I got in the UA. I know for sure. I saved I saved a lot of people. I destroyed a lot of robots and basically did what I was supposed to in the exam. Everyone in the room is happy for him, even the mom. Cause the Carmine family is actually fucking nice too. Like trust, they're all the bonds are close and everything. They're happy Deku's safe and they happy he made it out. But besides that, yeah, I must say as time passes on, uh, I forgot to tell you this. Deku is still the shortest in the family, but he's like 6'1", 6'2" now because of all the training. Well, the other members are like 6'3", 4, and 5. And Deku is muscular. Like, don't get me wrong. Yeah, let's continue. So besides that, Deku would indeed walk. I mean, weeks. I mean, time would pass. He go. He'd drive down, just basically mail for him. He'd come down, see the mail, open it. Thing from All Might, yeah, you got in, yada yada, and that will happen. And no, Deku's not getting one for all because of the fact that even though he deserves it a lot, I don't want to give it to him because if I give it to him, he's basically can do like 30%, maybe 40. No, he can probably hold it at like 100% at this point because dude, he's fucking built. Like if I had to describe how built this dude is, it's crazy. So, uh, so yeah. So he, damn, my nose has got stuff. So he'd go to school like the day of. He get there like early, and I'd say he's the first in class. Now people would think, oh, like he's too studious. It's like, eh, is rather his mom. He's like, I'd rather be being early is on time. On time is late, and if you're late, you're basically kicked out of school. So basically, that's how he's the first person in class. Then Ida, then the rest of the thing. But Ida sees that he's there first, and he's just sitting there, waiting for class to begin with his arms crossed in right form. Everything about him is like breathes the right form. And Ida basically walks up to him, and Ida starts talking to him like, "Hey, you must be a member of the Carmine family." And basically, Deku greets says, "Yeah, actually, I'm Izuku Midoriya. I mean, yeah, was it Midoriya? No, Izuku Carmine, but everyone in my family calls me Deku." And Ida says, "Why did I call you Deku? Because of how short I am, consider compared to the rest of them." But Ida says, "You're the tall. You're 6'1", six. You're 6 feet 6'1". How are you short?" And they're like, "They're 6'2", 3", 4", and 5." And Ida's like, "Ah, that makes fucking." And Ida's like, "Ah, that makes sense." Huh. Oh shit, that's cool. But besides that, uh, yeah. Besides that, yeah. Him and Ida would talk until the rest of the class fills in. Then, like Bako still do the same thing again. And besides Bakugo would Bakugo would feel like he's the shit because he didn't meet Deku and doesn't care about the Carmine family, so he doesn't know how bad it is. So he basically gets in, puts his feet on the desk, and Deku doesn't do anything, but Ida basically doesn't like, hey, you shouldn't do that, yada yada, and them two getting into an argument, and because everyone's getting disturbed by the argument, Deku basically walks over and he's like, hey, as much as I love that the fact that you're everything needs to be in the right way, you shouldn't do that. What the fuck? But and he's telling that to Ida, and then like uh Lako's basically saying like, see, even like the weirdo with the helmet like gets it. He's like, oh no, you need to get your feet off the desk. Don't get me wrong. I'm just trying to make that big of a scene. And Bako's like, huh? So not that much of a scene to you? And dump that same shit. And Deku's basically like talking him down, basically like saying like Bakugo would try to argue with him, and Deku's like, yeah. And then he's spitting facts at him, and it got to a point where Bakugo tried to throw a punch at Deku, and Deku like would basically just catch it and just like start cracking Bakugo, like squeezing his hand and start cracking Bakugo's knuckles, and then he started bringing him down to the ground, basically saying like, yeah, that fighting shit is done. Uh, and like Bakugo would take offense to that and try to kick Deku. Deku, knowing that everyone's seeing, he grabbed Bakugo's leg, and if I had to say, like, he picks him easily up. Like he threw a right-handed punch and right leg. He picks him up with it, throws him over the shoulder, and slams him onto the floor. Then puts his knee on his chest and looked like he was about to ground and pound the shit out of Bakugo. But he stopped and said, "Nah, I can't do." He's like, "No, I can't do this as much as I want. I could have," and let Bakugo back up. But Bakugo was slammed hard, and everyone could hear it. That was a loud thud that even woke Aizawa up because Aizawa was like, "Yo, who the fuck?" And
Aizawa basically popped up like, "Yo, who the fuck?" And then he was like, "YouTube principal's office." And Deku basically said, "Oh no, I was defending myself. Everyone can actually agree to that." And Aizawa says, "Oh yeah, show me." Deku pulls his own ship out of his helmet, puts it on a projector that he carries, and shows that Bakugo hit and is heard in AC. Bakugo did all the shit in Deku, and not Deku. Deku defended himself. It was obvious. And basically, fucking, I was like, okay, now I see this Bakugo, principal's office, I'm watching it. He said, and Deku basically says, yes, sir. And sits down after putting everything away. And basically, class begins as it is. Bakugo comes in later on with a warning, yada yada. And yeah, basically, uh, no, it's time for like the outside portion. Uh, how do I do this? Because I don't really want to do this arc. Everyone knows why if you've been watching my stuff. Because it's tedious and no one wants to hear about it because everyone knows like this Deku would get second because he throw it like a fucking kamugi and that shit will go flying. Not into like the water, but he'll go flying further than Bakugo's did. And in speed, he'd be behind Ida. Side to side lunge, I'd say he's about. I don't know who could be second. No, he'd be second. Basically, everything that doesn't involve someone's like quirk being the good part of it. He's what the fuck? Why am I down on? Besides, like besides, people having like a good part of it, he get he do pretty well. So besides that, yeah, that's the end of that day. Then I'm a time skip because besides that, he'd tell his family the information. They'd be like, "Oh, okay." Nothing notable happened. I mean, him and Ida talk more than anything because cause Ida's like, "Oh, thanks for helping me on the first day, though. Like, you didn't have to slam him." He was like, "I kind of did." He kind of like wouldn't have listened if I didn't. And then him and Ida run through every situation. Ida's like, "Yeah, you're right." But yeah, why the fuck am I on your story? Get the fuck out of here. And yes, I was on a story on Instagram. Sorry, but uh, how what else would happen? Well, nothing much besides information gathering. Him and Ida talking. I say he talked to Momo too, actually, because he was talking to Momo a little bit because she's from a rich family, and basically Momo's family told her like, "Hey, you should get to know that Carmine guy." And when they found out he was in the class, and Momo was like, "Why?" He was like, "Well, the Carmine family are seen as a very high-ranking family, and it would be cool if, like, we got one of the Carmine family members to date our daughter." And Momo's like, "But I don't." And then he was like, "But it's up to you." Basically, giving her a choice instead of saying like, "Oh yeah, you're dating this guy." But he talks to Momo. It's starting pretty slow, but they're friends. And before I say this, yes, the Carmine can do it multiple wives or one wife. Yes, that Clay had multiple because of the fact that everyone wanted to be with Clay because he was a quirkless man, but he still did so much shit. So instead of just like, he was like, okay, so instead of having one, fuck it, I'm gonna just have multiple. Said fuck it. So that being said, time passes and yeah, time for the fucking heroes versus villains. I'm not doing USJ because I'm already like 44 minutes in. So the USJ will happen, and I say USJ. So heroes versus villain time. Now, Deku always brings all of his shit in prepared. So when basically is like, okay, go get suited up, and go to the locker room. Deku basically is carrying like his army bag, which everyone's like, hey, why are you carrying an army bag? And Deku basically says, this is my equipment. I built it myself. They're like, why don't you have the people in the Hero Course build it? It's like, I can build my own stuff. I like respect to your Hero Course, but I'd rather just build my own stuff. I'll use them though when I need help. So they get into like the room, and when Deku's changed into his stuff, he has to take off like his clothes, even the bottom portion, and the bottom portion he wraps a towel around himself as he puts the stuff on. Cause yeah, no gay shit flying this way. So basically what will happen is he take off the like top part of like his clothes and eat it in fucking Hiroshima out it is like, bro, you're fucking built. Where do you work out at? He's in Deku says at home. And Kirishima remembers his family. He was like, oh yeah, sorry, I forgot. But he's like, damn, can you at least put me on to some exercises? Deku basically he looks out at the helmet. He says, as much as I want to, I can't. That's kind of against the rules of my family. Plus, how I was trained, yeah, no. And I mean, it would be easier for you considering a quirk, but no, I can't. And Kirishima understands. He's like, all right, cool, cool. So it gets to the heroes versus villains part. He walk out in like the full set of armor, and if you're wondering what his armor looks like, think of a combination of all the Carmines, but in his own way. So he'd have like the full armor, and the armor would be good considering that like he had the chest of like more of clay and the arms of everything else and everyone else besides Clay, because Clay didn't wear his arms; he wore the hands thing. Uh, Besides that, yeah, nothing else really happened. They get to the room. I mean, so yeah, get to the room. Be All Might, yada yada. Deku wouldn't be impressed. All Might would know of the Carmine kid, and say, "Nice to meet you, All Might." And I mean, he wouldn't even give Deku special treatment. He's like, he's the only kid that isn't fawning over me. And the helmet, he's like, "Oh, it's All Might." Oh, that's pretty. I mean, he's like, "Oh, this is the number one hero, All Might." They're pretty impressive. And then he wouldn't scan him, but he's like, there's something wrong with him though. Like he can tell because he can already tell by the way he's breathing and the way he like everything looks around. He was like, there's something wrong with this guy. No, it's not mentally. It's more like physically. And he doesn't get into it, but but says the team. He's like, okay, Ida and he says teams of three. No, teams of two. And he says, "Okay, damn, it's a hard decision between Ida or Momo to go with him." He says, "All right, so I guess teams of three for this round. So Ida, Deku, and Momo against Bakugo. Uh, damn, this is a hard one. Bakugo, Todoroki, and damn his heart. Bakugo, Todoroki, and I guess Ochako. Yeah, fuck it, Ochako. So they get in and basically they're asking like, "Oh, what's the plan?" Deku says, "Okay, so Ochako is a space squirt, so she'll probably be in the room, probably gonna levitate the bomb over our heads." Fucking uh, Shoto because he is ice and doesn't seem like he's gonna use his fire. And then Momo says, "Oh, by the way, are you related to him?" And Deku says, "Down the line, yeah, but I'm basically his cousin." But yeah, besides both of them like, "Oh, that makes sense why your quirk is like fire," and no, Todoroki does not yet know yet, but though he's kind of getting an inkling feeling. Uh, and then he says, Bakugo, if we know him and his fire attitude, he's gonna come after me. He's gonna leave Ida to run, and he's gonna leave you to pass by. So I'm gonna need you two to let me deal with Bakugo, and you two, go get the bomb. I mean, go try to pass fucking sh- Todoroki if possible. If not, then like try to hold him off for as long as possible or sneak around him. And them two are like, okay, we can see where this plan is going. We'll handle everything from there. And they're like, okay. So this plan starts and go. Deku is the only person who walks to the front door while Ida and Momo basically like take a zip line to the top. I mean, not a zip line, but grapple hook and start going up the building. So let's go inside the building. Bakugo is on the hunt for anyone who came in the door. Deku came in the door, and him and Bakugo are going at it, with Deku kicking Bakugo's ass. Because Bakugo would go to explode Deku. Deku would basically deflect it, punt, and giving a boxing combo, trip him, then and he'd be on the ground, then almost stomp on him. Bakugo would roll out the way. Then Deku would run up and kick him in the stomach, sending him into kicking him hard in the stomach, and then picking him up, headbutting him with the helmet, then punching him. Then Bakugo basically backs against the wall, and Deku's basically like giving him hands, and Bakugo all he can do is block because he's trying to block his stomach and his face at the same time. But every time he moves, he gets fucked up there. So he's just there taking like a beating, and then Deku basically hits him in one place in the stomach, and Bakugo is knocked out on the ground. And Deku basically starts running until he hears like a ice crackling sound, and he jumps up and sees Todoroki did the ice thing because he heard all the fighting. So relocated and tried to freeze Deku. Deku jumped up and basically starts putting fire on his feet and starts melting the ice as he's running across it. So he's doing that and finally meets Todoroki, where Todoroki is blocking the hallway with ice. So Deku's like, okay, seeing as you want to do this, claps his hands, forms a small heated fireball, and says, "Yeah, heat it round." Shoots it and melts the ice at a point to where he can run through. And because Todoroki isn't built for a hand to hand, before Todoroki knew the ice, Deku stops him and basically punches him, then and then with that same arm swings him into the wall, and then punches him in the stomach again, knocking him out. Then proceeds upstairs where Momo and fucking what's the name are already above, and he gets an idea where they are, and he basically walks in. Uraka's already floating the bomb as they stated, and right near where they were. So Uraka's like, "Ha, we win. You can't touch this bomb." Deku basically says, "Okay." So, mind if I set a little light on the situation? And shoots a fireball. I mean, has a fireball in hand, throws it up, destroys the ceiling, and basically Momo zip lines in with Ida basically speeding her down, and they touch the bomb, winning. Now Osaka's like, "Huh? Wait, how did you?" And he was like, "I kind of had a feeling, and you didn't hear about them too. Plus, we kind of have these, and I kind of have this, and and it shows like a wire coming down. I mean, and he says I kind of have a headset on, basically talking to them, and they're like, oh, okay." So that's how that part ends. And basically, Deku basically picks up Todoroki and walks out, and then he picks up fucking Bakugo as he walks out while talking to Momo, Uraka, and Momo Urake and who the fuck is his name? Ida. They're basically talking about how like it's going, and basically Ida basically says like it was a good plan that we let you deal with them because like and Deku's like yeah no problem because I knew what they would have done. Well, not Todoroki. He said I wouldn't know what he would have done. Todoroki is more of like was kind of like basically kind of like a weird one. But yeah, besides that, nothing much really happened. So I'm gonna end it here because all that would happen is they'd return home. Deku would tell. I mean, Deku basically would inform his family. He'd be like, oh, "Okay, that was a good decision," because like of everything, and they're like, "Yeah, but I'm gonna end it here. Thank you for if you do watch it. Thank you for watching. This is what I wanted to do. This is a project I've been thinking of since last week. I wanted to do it because I felt like it. But yeah, thank you and peace."